Oh yeah, I just want to hear about Potionomics. Really, I want to hear more about it.
All right.
Just
So
yeah.
Potionomics was a really specific demo, which is not surprising because the narrative designer was the person who was leading the demo there for because so this is at the XSEED booth because um, they're producing it. So the narrative designer was the person who was there to show the game, and so he was pretty frank about the fact that some of the stuff and the order of things that we saw during the demo is not reflective of how it's going to flow when you actually play the game. But the feel for it is so the that it's. I'm trying to think. I'm rushing into it, and I hadn't come up with the rest of my words yet. It felt good, but again, sometimes you get demos where it's just like here's the first level. This it's tough to talk about because it's on one hand it's nice because it's carefully scripted for. Hey, we made this specifically for you to play at PAX, which is on one hand really nice. On the other hand, it's like I can't tell you about what the exact game's going to be like because this was carefully handpicked and made. But that part was the part that I played was good. So you get a letter, or the general idea is that you get a letter. Your uncle died. You're going to take over his promotion shop. But you have to go there in person because if you don't go there in person, it forfeits to the state. So anyway, so you show up and you're like, okay, I'm going to take over my uncle's potion shop. There's an owl there that's going to guide you and show you how to make potions. And
as owls are wont,
owls always getting up in potion shit. And so the demo is like you start out with 3 HP with 3 potions, and you're like, okay, I'm going to sell them. There's kind of like a day cycle. There's 6 wedges. Opening your shop to sell uses up 2 of those time wedges, and then you sell your shit. And if you want to sell, you then kind of go into haggling mini games where you then have to use a deck battling system to haggle with the prospective buyers, where the main units of the main resources are their patience, their interest, and your frustration. So when you play a card, you're basically using up their patience to try and sell them this item in order to build their interest. But then they are also going to be like, hey, stop wasting my time, which is going to build your frustration, unless say you play a card that prepares yourself to be kind of like accosted by your own patron. And so that you just basically play that out, try and get the most money for the potion through that system, and theoretically use that money to spend back and maybe buy ingredients, upgrade your cauldron to brew potions, and that's the whole thing.
Okay, so why does it need to have a card-based system? I hate when they just throw these in there. Like, there's
why not?
I hate it.
Why does it need it? I don't know.
Probably because they couldn't figure out a way to make that haggling process fun.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. So like, if you've played if you're going to talk about a haggling game, Reciteer is always the one that kind of comes to mind, at least it does for me.
That's really good.
Somebody that's played Reciteer.
Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Rusty's Real Deal. That's not the one that comes to my mind. Reciteer is kind of almost overly basic when it comes to haggling, where there's essentially
just a number.
Yeah, there are specific NPCs that have specific haggling numbers that you just learn, and once you learn it, it's like, okay, I know that there's a specific range that I can plus or minus on the base value of this item, and then we go kind of like to the other extreme, which is, all right, we're going to card battle to haggle. I will say though, it felt good. I mean, like it felt normal because you're like, it's like 3 turns.
Okay, that's good. I thought it'd be like
and like when the person retorts, it's not like they're playing a hand of cards. They're just saying something. And so it's just
some Monkey Island ass shit.
Right.
It's kind of like Griftlands. Have you played that?
I personally haven't, so I can't speak to it. But
it's a new clay game that they made. It's like a social RPG has cards. Yeah.
The other thing is that or at least currently in the current build, what they're going to do. So if they're about to do 2 damage to you. So it's mostly like I would think that if you're going through your second playthrough, you're going to take one look, know that they're about to do 2 damage. I'm going to call it damage.
Yeah.
You know that they're about to do 2 damage to you. You look
emotional damage.
Yeah,
damage.
You look at your hand.
Worst kind.
Okay, I'm going to end my turn by doing 2 block, and then it's gonna snap. It's not going to take long, which is I think the biggest concern when you're talking about putting in a card game. I don't know. Yeah, by the time I was picking up time, it felt good to me, at least personally.
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that XCOM Marvel game where it's a card based game. I'm like,
and you're like, does it have to be?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other thing. There's the NPCs are pretty much all named, which is kind of similar to Reciteer, which is a game that
Harvest Moon.
And Harvest Moon. Yeah, it's more Harvest Moon-esque because those are NPCs. These are NPCs that are recurring. The blacksmith is going to come in. There's a adventurer an adventurer in training. The guild master, because this is a traditional NPC or RPG fantasy town. So those people are going to be recurring. There's romance options.
I'm in.
Yeah, I know. You want to talk to the blacksmith who can maybe build you a better cauldron so that you can make bigger potions, put more ingredients in. There's a rival. I think she's a witch who also makes potions.
I think you've talked more about this game than you've actually played of this game in a weird way.
Yeah, it's such a stacked demo.
It's a stacked demo.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean by when
it's a really good cut demo.
Right, they cut
nice slice.
I want you to see
a lot of games work.
No, they really work. I want you to see a lot so that you're drawn in.
Yeah.
Which I felt like there were people that I want to see more of and things that I want to do more of. Because when it comes to the actual potion making, I only made 3 potions. I put 6 ingredients into a cauldron, clicked potion, and then after 4 slices of the day were done, they said, "Hey, your potion's ready," and you were able to do it. So, yeah, I mean, I would say keep an eye out on that game for sure for me.
It's been on my list for years, so
I know them. So they've been developing it for I think just over 5,
4 or 5. Okay, 5.
It's at least 5, and it's been on a lot of people's lists for many reasons. The haggling is all done in these really nicely animated 3D models. They're super emotive.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of zooms out when you're looking at your store, and all of a sudden it's 2D sprites. It looks sick. And yeah, I think Potionomics is going to be